Hello, you might have often heard these famous songs like Siguna Sun, Doren Kazar, Maka Gundailo, Anja Sarken Chidu, Ware Bombay, and many more hits of the yesteryear. These songs became part of the rich folklore of southwestern coast of Karnataka, or otherwise called as the Konkani belt of South India. And these songs were penned and recorded in the 1950s and the 60s and the 70s by none other than Jerome D'Souza. As you know, um, in Konkani there are so many songs that have been part of the rich history. People have been humming it everywhere, but nobody knows who the original artist is. For example, Rosalyn Mujamogache, the very popular song, and everybody keeps singing it, but nobody knows where it originated from, and who the composer was or who the lyricist was. And there are so many other songs which are best titled as the Anonymous. And today, what we see is we have this Gen Z cringe, beat groups that ram their guitars and pianos and drums on Insta reels, you know, humming this songs, older songs from the 70s, 80s, and giving it a little bit of the spiciness, adding some salt to it, adding some masala to it, and they give no acknowledgement without even acknowledging the original artist. They forget about crediting it. They don't even credit it. Everybody seems to think that they are the original singers. And, well, that's a different debate altogether. Coming back to Mr. Jerome D'Souza, he hailed from the little town of Jeppu in Mangalore, where other legendary Konkani artists like Wilfie remembers Eric Osario also originated from. Jerome's journey blossomed in Bombay in the 1950s, where he started actually singing for Konkani dramas. Um, and I think there were a lot of Konkani, regional linguistic programs on Bombay radio and also on Punjim radio. I think they had a Bombay station or something like that. And it gave opportunity for new singers and singers from regional languages. And Konkani was a pretty vibrant language in Bombay because of the Goan influence. A lot of Goan jazz groups, like you had Chris Perry's and many others, who were very popular in Bombay nightclubs, especially in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So the HMV, the record group, was also uh, keen on releasing all these regional music as well. So Jerome, despite being from coastal Karnataka, he somehow managed to you know be part of the wider Konkani world, which was back then largely dominated by the Goan musicians, and rightly so. But because uh, Jerome was quite unique, he wrote his own songs, he composed music, he had a great understanding of the music. If you heard all of his songs and if you try to understand them, you can clearly understand make note that this man knows his music. His lyrics were very much observational, highly observational, and plus he looked at social realism, and then there was subtle humor in it, and he also had a signature style of performing. Like if you see in his vocals, he had a lot of variation in his vocals. He could switch from high to the lower notes quickly, and then he used to giggle. He used to have a pause in between. That is quite extraordinary because that is a highly professional way of singing, and it's. I know there are a few Goan artists who could do that. Goans, a lot of musicians were nothing less than geniuses. But from coastal Karnataka, if there was one artist that could easily be the next geniuses or next Chris Perry or next Alfred Rose, that could easily be Mr. Jerome D'Souza. It could be because of the volume of our population, our Konkani speaking population, which is less than 3 million. And it is extremely challenging to cater to such a small population. And that could be the reason that may have hindered the progress and the clout of such a magical journey of Mr. Jerome D'Souza, because I feel that after the 70s, he was sort of got lost because people, I don't think there's so much talk about Jerome D'Souza in these days. Apart from his songs are there. They're always played in music apps. They played on YouTube. They played on wedding halls. People, we can hear it everywhere. People hum it everywhere, but people actually don't know who the original singer was. If you, only the people who are in their 70s, 80s, they remember Mr. Jerome, because he also had few musical shows in Mangalore, I think in the 60s. And there was another reason is that the Bombay second and third generation for people of Mangalorean or the coastal Karnataka region, or even the Goans as well, they that generation actually lost pace with the language and lost all affinity towards the tradition and culture. The only affinity remained was the food. They still love their Mangalorean Goan food. Apart from that, there's nothing much associated. They don't listen to Konkani music, and that could be the reason. As far as his songs are concerned, yeah, I mean, perhaps among all the Konkani, coastal Karnataka Konkani musicians, I still believe that Jerome had the best music, because he used a lot of musical instruments, a lot of orchestra, and he used famous musical personalities like M. Alfonso, and and the way of singing, in fact, his style of singing was sui generis. I don't think there was anybody else later on that could imitate Mr. Jerome. And because he was by far, I believe that there were not too many competitors. I know Henry D'Souza was also quite his contemporary, but I think he even dates back to Henry D'Souza as well, because Jerome's first records came in the late 50s, and then he had tons of songs in the 60s. Some may be recorded, some may not be, but he was the pioneer of coastal Karnataka's Konkani music scene. And I think we need to celebrate his life, celebrate his contribution to Konkani music. And there has to be more archives and more written records, and more, I would say, recognition to such a magical artist from the Konkani music or the Konkani diaspora around the world. Thank you.